Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on SVCO. We love a good IPO story and downgrade in future guidance.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that checked and it's gone.
Hey everyone, welcome to Laughing Stock. Today I have Ranger Dayne with me. How are you, Dayne?
Good. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good. It's been an interesting week, I think. So we have some updates on ALTO at least. I went through it on Thursday. Yep. And another company that I'm involved in, SSRM, had a good day. And we just talked about like the whole commodity sector, or gold and silver at least, seems to be on a little bit of a uptrend, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I that's the one thing I noticed this entire, especially even Friday. If you go through just the top movers from that day, there's so many gold, silver, or just general metals. Like I was just saying, Sylvain Stillwater was up 9%. So there's a lot of money flowing into that sector right now. You know, lithium's up, platinum, palladium, both gold and silver. Even energy, zinc was up. So everything, the entire commodities market right now in terms of like those metals, precious metals, whatever, they're all up. So yeah, it's super bullish for SSRM, just not even because of what's going on with SSRM, but they're just even in that sector right now. And we were just talking about, they've reached their now high since the big drop.
Yep. And we also saw that they has getting higher lows for a while now.
Yeah, I'm thinking right here. I think the chart looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to jump straight.
I'm not saying that this is gonna double, but like you know, I can see it start to break out here. How high it goes, I don't know, but I could picture it hit like $7 from here, easy.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see how it goes. They're gonna report in November as well, and it's gonna be interesting to hear their commentary about what's going on in Turkey there. What I kind of like there though is that we know they have already said that it can cost them up to 300 million to get that everything up and running again. So you know, that's the information we have right now, and if it's gonna cost them more or less than that, that's kind of the news like we are waiting for. And of course, if at all they're gonna get the mine up and running again. So right. I just saw the only news I could find on the company itself that was that some analyst firm had upgraded price on it, just by 20% something. But I think it was more to the sector doing well.
And I'll also say too, volume had been down. Like it keeps trading at usually about 1 million each day, and
Yeah.
this was one of the very few days in recent. It's been almost a month. It was like mid-September when you started to see decent volume last time. And it's it's where you can start to see it had that little bullish run from like 480 to like the $6 mark.
Yeah.
But you're seeing this volume way up here at the top where oh my god, my camera's already failing here. You're seeing the volume here at all-time highs, which catches my interest.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think a good week for SSRM. And we don't have to talk too much about ALTO there. I covered it on Thursday, but it was good to see some updates there, and it didn't do much for the price. It went up a little bit, but then down. It's up for the entire week. It's up 4% or something. Right. But I'm actually thinking about adding a little bit more there, Dayne, and that's kind of not based on the chart. It's more based on that I think the Q3 report will be good.
So when you say you would add, how would you handle adding it that here?
I was tempted to add this week when it was at 162 around there, but I didn't. I was too late. I was busy, so I couldn't do it. I was in, like, I watched it at 165, and then I still didn't do it because I was expecting it to pull back a little bit, to be honest, after that news.
Yeah, but I'm asking what is your percentage now, and like how much percentage would you add to it?
Oh, I'm you know, this is by far my biggest position. I should have split up the portfolio because this is like ridiculous more higher than anything else I own. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm putting in maybe what can we say, like another 6-7% maybe.
Gotcha. I mean, and no matter what, it's still averaging, even though the price is kind of starting to come up from these lows. I mean, it's still averaging down for you. So it's a little different, than someone who's looking at it now.
Yes, for me that would be still getting my average down. But I said on Thursday also I'm happy with my position. So if I don't add here, I'm good,
I will say the chart looks good right now.
It does look good. I just saw on the daily that I hoped, and maybe I even expect, if you look at the Mondays in the last 3 weeks or something, it has a drop towards the moving average. And I expected it to come down closer to the moving average than actually what it did. But it also went up to almost 180, and then it did pull back to 171, and I think it's now at 173. So let's see how it goes. I think maybe Monday will be a red day for ALTO.
Yeah, no, I'm interested here. And like you said too, I mean, the timing of all this too is also kind of what makes it interesting, just because we are now getting really close to some actual news here.
We are getting very close to the Q3 report now. I think if the data is correct in TradingView, which I think has been wrong in the past, just have to say that. But here, according to this, it says Monday, 4th of November, that the date for the report is.
Gotcha.
But it says like approximately, so I don't know. I think that's on Monday.
I'd have to look at a calendar, but
yeah. But yeah, I just checked the comments and stuff like that. It's nothing new here, so we don't need to go through it. I just want to say that if I get a chance that I'm happy with, I think I will add a little bit here.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the Magic Valley, because they're saying that everything's full capacity now, so it's very interesting.
Yeah, but the wording is also like long term. It doesn't matter. But they said like from, I don't remember the exact, but they said October. So that probably means it has not run full capacity, for the whole quarter. Just something to keep in mind.
True, but
still, it's good. This is exactly what they said they were gonna do and hope for. So I spent a little bit time on Thursday to say that if they deliver now on the Q3, like I disagree strongly that you can talk so much shit about management in this past year.
Yeah.
But I understand that I'm a little bit alone with that view.
Well, you can talk shit about management, but at this point now, it's kind of, swept under the rug. I mean, we're at the point now where we're in a different spot, and this is an opportunity for, after everything that's happened, for them to really come through here.
Yeah.
But I will say the rising lows on that chart for the daily, it looks really good. If it can break through that 185, 180 level, like if there's any day that starts to break out, that's a buy. Now that's just on the chart, and that's not a recommendation. Please do your own due diligence. But I will be taking a position if that occurs.
Yeah.
And right now we actually are breaking through the 200-day moving average. Which, like I said, it doesn't really matter. That doesn't really mean all that much, but to some people it does. There is investors out there who will buy when you have one of those breakthroughs. So who knows? It could be the last 2 days have looked pretty bullish. I'm just actually last week, really.
Yeah, I've been trying to check online, like if some bigger funds or some bigger investor has bought in lately, but I haven't been successful. And if you go to Wade Wisdom, all of them has ALTO very far down in their portfolio, so it's not like they have it like one of their favorite stocks or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I just have the hourly chart up, and the one thing that a bunch of traders have mentioned is that you put like a longer moving average. There's a few common ones that people use, and it keeps on its lows. It should tap that and then bounce off it when we're moving on an uptrend. If it continues to keep dipping below it, that typically means you're still in the base period where it's not going to break out. And this one follows it almost perfectly. If you look at the over the past month, it's been consistently breaking down below. I've been at a 65 EMA, and it just keeps breaking through it, and nothing's ever happened. And now, just in these past few days, pretty much last week, anytime it breaks down, it gets right down to it and then kind of bounces off of it.
Yeah.
So it's just another way of proving that more people are acquiring, not distributing.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, I mean, when you get into the meat of technicals, it's supply and demand. That's literally all it is. Which supply and demand causes price action. And we were talking about this a little bit before, because I was telling Johnny that, like, my whole opinion on when I look at a chart and what these numbers mean, and the understanding, like the candles and stuff like that. I used to laugh because like, and it's still funny to me that they have these names for these things, and none of it's foolproof. That's why you have to have like a system that like you can do over time, essentially, and get consistent results. And a lot of it too is kind of feel, but like, and that's why I think you and I may have an edge here going as we broaden into this. And I know I've taken a pretty heavy stance into it, and I know you're dabbling as well. So I mean, either way, we'll see how it ends up working in the future. But like we know the fundamental story here, and like I said, there's so many traders out there that you could just trade on technicals. And let's say all you did your entire life was trade on technicals and you were very successful. I can see why that person says fundamentals don't matter. But I also think that person might have been even better than they were had they also looked at the fundamentals and understood those, because it would have just further emphasized better choices when they are going to buy a position, because they know the company better.
Yeah, better choices is the right word there. Like, maybe you would hold for a bit longer. Maybe you would, get out if you saw the fundamentals weren't that good a bit quicker. Stuff like that.
Yeah, well, like in terms of trading too, you have to pick somewhere that whatever your time frame is. So if let's say I look at a position, and this is one thing I've been playing around with. And you guys will notice I don't have my portfolio up here because Johnny's hosting, but a lot of my positions are a lot smaller right now. They're anywhere from 1% to 2%. And the reason why is because I'm doing it on purpose. I'm buying positions in things that I like, certain things, and I'm tracking it. I'm saying what I bought at, why I bought it, what it looked like on the chart, what the news was, what the fundamentals are at the time. And the whole point is to reflect on anything that works, anything that didn't work, what I could have done better, what I should be focusing on, what tends to lead to better choices. And part of that is because let's say I buy a stock and it's just on the technicals. I'm probably going to set myself at like 3 to 5 days to sell out most of that position and then maybe ride it towards some kind of other indicator. But with something like ALTO, if I buy in, if the technicals look like they're starting to get a little shaky, but I know the story is coming out, and that, in 3 weeks we got, earnings coming out and things should be turning around for the company. I'm probably going to hold through that period, and I might hold it up to a month, maybe even longer than that, because at that point there's more going on, and just to buy and sell it super quickly, you might it might work out, but you might also miss a lot of the good breakouts instead of just holding it through like a longer period.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Hey, Dayne, I think you I think your sound is a bit weird. I think maybe if you give it a smack again.
How about now?
Yeah, let me hear you.
Talking, just checking, testing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on my end or what's going on, but
trying to mess with this mic. I don't know. Maybe this mic's getting old. I don't know if it's the cord.
all of a sudden it dropped a bit in volume, for me at least.
Yeah, it could be my thing. I don't know. Let me just checking, and no, it does seem like it's very low. I wonder if it's this cord's not working well. Hang on a sec.
Yeah. back after some minor technical problems, like we usually have.
Yeah, I don't know. One of these days I need to upgrade all my stuff here.
Oh, sorry, Dayne. I think it's back again.
Oh my god.
Hold on. Let me check.
No, I can see it. It's not.
Yeah, now it's good.
Yeah, I think it's. I wonder if it's my cord because I feel like it's kind of back and forth on when I see it picking up my voice.
Okay.
All right, we'll try with that. Let me know. I don't know. Honestly, I need to just invest in a new microphone, and I don't know what's going on here. I'm looking at my microphone. It looks like someone spilled something on it. So I'm also wondering if I wasn't told that there was something that happened with this.
Yeah.
It's awfully suspicious.
Yeah. No, but now it should be good, I think. Yeah, I kind of we were talking about ALTO, but yeah, what were you saying again? Like it looks good. It pulls back from it bounces off the average.
Yeah, I was talking about the that average, a longer term average. You could set it at 50, 60, 100, who cares? It doesn't matter. But my point being is you set it somewhere lower, and if it keeps dropping down, tapping it and bouncing off of that at some point, that's super bullish. That just usually means that a lot of like bigger buyers or even just retail is setting that their buy limits at least at those levels, which means every time it gets down to there, someone's buying. Like someone will not let that price get lower than that.
Yeah.
And I know this is all just more like the inner workings of markets, but I also have learned that I think it's super important to understand that stuff. And to just totally discount it, I think is foolish. Now, once again, I understand if you're just straight fundamentals and that's been successful for you, I can see why you'd say, oh, you know what, that doesn't matter to me. And over a longer time horizon, I can understand why that doesn't. But, you know, as you and I have said, the whole point of this is we're essentially trying to find the way to get the highest returns in a stupidly short amount of time, which is very difficult to do. I know most people say it's impossible. I think that's wrong because there's tons of examples of people doing it. But
consistently too.
Really good knowledge base of all kinds of different things to get to that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
ALTO's doing it is my point.
And I don't know how it works with these fires and stuff, Dayne, but I said on Thursday I've actually sent a message on Facebook to the Pekin Fire Department, and they have answered me, but they need to they were gonna pass the question along. But how do you think, like, if there's a fire in a factory, they notify the fire department over there? You know, it's not like they have systems that just shut them down and they take care of them themselves.
Mm-hmm. So,
what do you think?
Shout out to the Pekin Fire Department. Thank you.
Thank you. You have to give me an answer. I will update everyone then. Then we can eliminate the fire hazard.
I think that's a good due diligence that most people aren't going through.
Yeah. So let's see what they will answer me. All right, I'm moving into the dashboard. Friday looked like a good day for a lot of things. We talked about the miners and stuff like that. I saw the miners are mostly green here, but also things like palladium and zinc, lithium. Yeah, I saw China, Hong Kong was up, Netflix. Yeah, it just looked like a very good day on Friday.
Yeah, I did see that bounce in China, but I also wonder it's had quite a pullback now from the highs, and we'll see. It's going to probably trade sideways here, so we can maybe watch to see if anything changes. But I wouldn't be interested right now. I think that last run up in most of the bigger Chinese tech companies got a little overextended, and we're going to kind of back off for a little bit.
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, who knows? It could bounce right back up because that stuff, when it moves, it moves.
Yeah.
But,
And I keep seeing banks in my daily movers.
yeah, finance has been one of the strongest sectors.
Yeah.
If you look over the past month or so, finance has just been absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
Which is rare. I mean, it's rare that you saw, but I think everybody was kind of planning on, with the interest rate moves and a lot of banks being overextended into stuff that is considered usually safe, that actually hurt them pretty bad.
Yeah.
A lot of them now are starting to come out actually with decent numbers, and the whole thing's kind of turning around.
But
Like,
do you remember?
I think Citigroup's the only one that came out and actually, didn't sound as optimistic about their quarter.
Yeah. Last time we saw that entire sector, which is a couple of years ago now, we also saw a lot of insider buys. I don't see this time.
Well, I think the insiders they're probably smart, because it's not like those banks are going anywhere. Like, everyone's acting like this stuff's going to fall apart. No offense, the government here, especially in the States, they're going to bail them out. They did it last time, and they'll do it again. And it's just one of those things that it's too big to fail, they say.
Yeah.
Which basically means that they're going to screw everybody and bail out these banks to make sure that their money doesn't go away.
Yeah. But banks are a little bit down according to this ETF, at least on Friday. But the general chart looks pretty bullish.
Yeah. No, I'm keeping an eye on some of the names, because I mean, the whole 2024 has been great. I mean, since the lows in 2023, everything's really recovered pretty well.
Yeah. It has.
I mean, we're pushing towards all-time highs if you look at some of the ETFs on banks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I saw Virgin Galactic is up almost 10%, but Virgin Galactic, I feel like they are always up and down quite a bit. It's very...
Yeah, they're tough to read.
Yeah.
That goes in. I put that in like the AMC type bucket.
Yeah, I agree. You want to move into some tickers?
Yeah, whatever.
Want to start with AG then? I think we have done them before. A while back.
Sure.
It's a silver company that was up 15% on Friday. It does trade close to the 52-week high this time, but with our screening methods now, we have changed a bit there, so we look at those as well. Kind of big company, 2 billion in market cap. It's based in Canada. I see revenue is a bit down, and they have some dilution in the last years. Margins are getting a little bit up after last year, according to my set at least.
Mm-hmm.
Negative free cash flow, and I have like a small dividend as well. Do you have that?
A slight what?
A small dividend?
Yeah, like 2 cents.
Yeah. And then earnings are also negative, but the chart looks good, right?
Yeah, the chart looks good.
Yeah. So, do you know the news here?
I think a lot of this is just stores of value in things that are different than like some of the other stuff that it has a little bit more risk. I think as the government drops interest rates down a little bit, and I'm not a macro expert, so I just listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and just have some general ideas of how it seems to work. I think people are just funneling into this stuff. Silver's been just decimated for forever. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at a long-term chart on silver, it's probably one of the most disappointing sectors that you can look at over the past, I don't even know, 10 years. It was up at like look at AG. AG was up in like 2016. It was up in 2021. And now it's been back down. I mean, it was trending where it's at now back in 2015. So, I mean, we're at the low part of, if you want to call this a cycle or something like that. So, it's gotten up recently in the start of the year. It was at this price. So it's interesting that it's getting back up there. I don't know how long this move could last.
Yeah. I saw the volume on Friday was 18 million, 19 million. And usually they have pretty big volume here, but that was like twice the normal size.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at like the weekly chart, it's had quite the move. I mean, it's almost doubled.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up like 50% at least from early September.
So who are the owners here?
It's always a good question.
Just all these big normal ones, but
was this up after hours? Yeah, it was. That's interesting. Yeah, I agree with your point though on 18 million volume. Like I said, I think this is more of a sector play than specifically anything to do with any one company.
No. And this is this like one of the main companies for silver in Canada? Probably. I don't know them.
Let me just pull up. Well, it says in the industry they're ranked 8 out of 9, so there's 9 bigger players in terms of silver.
Yeah.
And if you look at these names, I mean, a lot of them were up. Gato, AG's up actually the 3rd. So I think the fact that it's on the weaker side of it, this is more of a deep value play. It's going to see the biggest appreciation because it's sold off so much. But all of them are up. I mean, if you look at all these guys, like month performance, they're all up.
Yeah, okay.
6-month performance, all up but one. And that's actually been the best performing one. So that one got hit the hardest and now has had the biggest appreciation back up. And if you look at the 52-week range, almost every one of them is at almost the peak.
Yeah. So it's just going well for that whole sector.
Yeah. And like I said, I think after that, the Chinese play like 2 or 3 weeks ago when I did well, I take the sector moves pretty seriously now. Like you just see it, and like I was talking before the stream with Johnny a little bit. We were saying that like you can just see it. The institutions are buying, and that's where real money comes in, and it actually really causes actual price changes. Actually, I was talking to Johnny about this, and I didn't really fully get my point off because we were going back and forth, and like we should start the stream because we're talking about all this and we're not live. But I started dividing stocks up in my mind at least into 2 different categories. And they're very general, but the idea is you have stocks and good companies that have earnings and fundamentals, pay dividends, blah blah blah, and those ones are much. You're able to value those ones much more properly because you have like a lot of real cash flow coming in, and you can really compare those to others with cash flow, or you can compare dividends. And that's how a lot of value investors probably focus. And usually they might not be extremely well established. They might still be in their growth phase, but they're big enough companies that they're not like super small market caps. And then there's this other side of companies, and it's the other half of the stock market. And these are things that don't have earnings. They are more ideas. They're a lot more narrative driven. And those usually aren't owned as much by institutions. They're usually small cap down, and typically even micro or nano cap. And the problem with those ones is, I mean, you think about it, like I see these names move every day, and you'll look, and the market cap will be like $7 million or something like that, something extremely small, but it's up like 400% for the day or something crazy. But if you think about it, you know, one person could go in there on a day and end up spending, you know, I don't know what, you know, like $500,000, which, I mean, I know that's a lot of money to the average person here, but you know, $500,000 to someone who has a few million isn't that much, and they could potentially cause that stock price to move drastically. So there's two kinds of like technical breakouts that I see. One is from institutional buying, and you know, that could be anywhere. There is small cap institutional buyers, you know, and they focus on that, so it could be those guys as well. But the other one is like you get these crazy pump and dump schemes essentially. And like those are the ones you want to watch out for, because you know, you don't want to get into something just because, you know, on a chart it looks good. But and if you just simply screen out the really low market caps, it seems to eliminate a lot of that garbage. But and don't get me wrong, you could probably try and trade that stuff and be successful, because the returns of them in a day can be massive. But you take a real risk there, because I'm telling you, they're all pump and dump schemes. Like they're gonna, you know, they go up and they come back down within a day. So I've been dividing stocks up and trying to figure out like where things land. And I think my initial whole point of this conversation was, but it's just important when you're valuing these things to know where it lands. If it's a company that is truly trading on fundamentals versus just an entire sector move, knowing where it lands in those categories, I think helps to differentiate that a little bit better. And like I said, that's just a general breakdown. There's more categories than that, you know, in my mind essentially now, because then you can break it into growth, momentum, all that, blah blah. But when you see a company like this starting to turn around, a lot of times, like I look and fundamentally or even narratively, there's not much that's changed. But like I said, it's the more like now this is a macro type change. This is people are buying silver or buying silver companies or whatever they want to do, however they want to get invested in it. But you know, you could sit here and we could go over these numbers all day, but I don't think this move has anything to do with these numbers. I don't think it has anything to do with silver. I don't think all of a sudden we found a bunch of silver, or all of a sudden silver's getting tight. I don't think it has anything to do with that. There's just a bigger sector play going on here. And it's important to recognize that, but then that's where then I start using the chart, because I know why this play is happening. And it has nothing really to do. It's just all of a sudden now there's a demand for silver companies.
Yeah. And then you just want to participate in that ride up. And I was thinking when you were speaking now though, like I know I have a sheet for sectors, but I know you have a section at least in your sheets with sectors, and that you have split up all the companies in your database into those different sectors and subcategories and stuff like that. Is this something you will use more frequently now to catch early trends, or is it enough to just look at the dashboard we have and maybe Yahoo Finance and stuff like that, you know?
You know, it might be actually, and it doesn't really matter. You know, all I really need to do is I need to see the sector and get an idea of what's working, because like I said, some of the biggest returns you're going to see are in some of the smaller companies that have kind of been, you know, hit the hardest of that sector, you know, but it depends. It depends on how long it runs for. And the good thing is you can kind of see the whole play. You know, if it continues to go on for a week or so, you'll kind of see all those companies continue to push upwards. Now, in hindsight, like I said, this is part of me, with me labeling all my buys. You know, let's say I buy 2 or 3 silver companies, and you know, in after the run up and after I sell out, I'll be able to reflect back on and say, hey, you know what, if I would have bought all the ones who had been hit the hardest, I would have done better. Or, you know, maybe it's actually the ones who are the better companies end up being better at the end of the entire run. and like I said, it's just learning that, and then after you do it a few times, you'll see historically which ones do well. Now, almost I would argue it seems obvious that the smaller market cap ones who are, have been kind of forgotten the most, those ones always seem to appreciate the most. But it's hard to call those until there's almost an entire move. It's really rare. I think that one of those, you might be able to find one company that does well, but a lot of times it really is when like a whole sector starts to improve. That's where you want to get interested in the ones that are the smallest. And it's kind of like it's almost like a cheat because, you're trying to do that with fundamentals anyways, but the charts and just overall volume and watching the market move, it kind of guides your eyes towards these things. And then once you get into it, as long as you do it quick enough, you're able to look into these things and say like, okay, these are the ones that are moving right now. They're just all starting to jump.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it's important to then work on your portfolio management, which is stop losses,
Yeah.
coming up with ways to sell or trim. Are you going to average into these things? And that's all I find. Like I said, I've been doing so much reading. It seems to come down to personal preference, but also I would say there's a little bit of intuition there, but kind of sticking with one, it seems to be the smarter move. So like, if you're going to constantly scale into things, then stick with that. Don't do it for one and then kind of like, no, I'm going to buy here because I'm worried I'm late on this one. I think it leads to too much inconsistency and there's too many variables and you can kind of screw yourself doing that.
Yeah.
You might want to try both styles out and have it run for a while, see how it goes for you and see which one you prefer. But
Well,
that's why they say it comes down to kind of personality and what you like. It's not just like, you meet like someone who's like, like ADHD and they're super hyper and they need to be in and out of things. That might not actually be the best. That might fit what you would think is their personality, but that's not really what works best for them. But everybody has a style that seems to work best for them.
yeah. And it's going to be harder to learn from your good moves and your mistakes as well if you are up and down on your strategy and your rules and stuff like that, because you will never, this time I did it a bit different. So it will be hard to see what you did right and wrong if you are interested to go through and critique your decisions.
Yeah, and I think that's why over the past probably month or so, I had come up with a few different things that, got me in and out of positions. And I've honed those ideas now and I'm sticking with that side of it. My portfolio management, I think, is going to kind of stay the same. And I have a way to kind of scale up and down over time. So I'm going to stick with that as things change over time, but it's going to be a slower idea. But the more important part is, in terms of screening and finding things, that's what I'm working on right now. It's finding stuff as it's moving, understanding when you look at a chart and it looks good to you, then delving into what's really going on in the background and making sure that those two match up. And then also, like I said, just constantly marking down what you did, why you did it, and then learning from that, what you could have done better, where you need work. I was just telling Johnny before, a lot of times if I'm buying post breakout, I tend to get in too late. And it's not too late. It's just I'm missing a big chunk of the move that I wish I could have gotten. Now, maybe in the long run, it doesn't matter because maybe I'll still get the middle of the move, which I was talking earlier about as well. And, if I capture 70% of a move, I don't care if I miss the bottom 15 and the top 15. I don't care. That's still, in my mind, you're working in the right direction. Like I said, you might be someone who wants to time the top and bottoms, and you're much more particular about when you go in. I don't think I'm going to be that good at that. I'm not gonna assume I'm going to be able to pick bottoms and tops very well. I think that's really tough to do, and you're going to get really lucky when you do it. So instead of focusing on that, I'm going to focus on, okay, as this starts to break out, get in here. And then on other ones, if I'm going to get in before the breakout, it's focusing on things that start to look like they're about to break out. And those are the ones that I'm going to get in. And then there you're going to have to critique yourself on, like, if I do get into something before it breaks out, how long am I waiting for a breakout? You know, do I have to hold that position now for 3 extra weeks because I waited that long? Or do I find that I am pretty good at it? You know, am I buying stuff right before breakout, and within a few days it tends to break out? Because then it is worth to get in, you know, pre-breakout.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of just trial and error and seeing what I feel comfortable with, and then reflecting on, you know, the charts are nice because you can look historically, you know, had I done this, had I seen this based on what was available at the time, what would have made a better decision for me.
I've also read a book called Tomorrow's Gold. In terms of the sector that you talked about earlier now, then one of the big points there is like when you see something, and this is like with this strategy now, you probably have to keep an eye on both of these things, but the point there is like when you see a sector like money pouring into it, you should look in the opposite direction to find the next one already, you know, because the money will move at some point into something else, and then maybe you can get in a bit early if you manage to identify where the money going to move next after you know, this bounce is finished.
Yeah, and like I said, you usually get quite a few opportunities. I mean, if you pull up like a 6-month chart, or you know, or even a monthly chart, you'll usually see most of the companies that have success and they continue to move up over that course of time, and it can be up to a year, it can be longer, it doesn't matter, but there's multiple opportunities to get in.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, it's not always super important to get in at the very bottom. It doesn't hurt. You know, I get why deep value is still attractive in terms of, you know, seeing something's at a base, and also too, just with understanding how bases work, it gives me a much better appreciation when if you are going to go in at the bottoms, which there's a lot of different ways I could see you doing it. And there you definitely want to set stop losses. I will say that if I'm bottom fishing now, my stop losses are going to be tight because you are going against the trend. So
yeah,
you better be very confident that the trend's turning around, because we've seen how that works if you're wrong.
Yeah.
But with that being said, sorry, I keep losing my train of thought here because there's so many things I'm going over. But
all good. We can move to the next ticker maybe, Dayne.
yeah, sorry, I can't remember where I was going with that one, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you get the point. There's, like I said, there's just a lot going on here. Anybody who assumes that you can just walk into this and do it, good luck.
Yeah. So the next one I have is BAER, which is area wildfire management and firefighting services for the U.S. state governments.
Yeah,
I think I've done them on. Yeah, I've done them before.
Firefighting services.
I remember this one. And you found them on the chart too, right? Because they had a 35% move.
Yeah, I found this one based on a chart, and I'm assuming that the reason why this one's moving is there's a lot going on in the United States right now in terms of like natural disasters and stuff, where a lot of the stuff's probably really important. But yeah, this had a 35% move.
Yeah. It seems like it has gotten some analyst update or upgrades. And there's how.
So this one's a kind of an interesting case. There's a Wall Street Journal article on this.
Yeah, I just pull it up.
Yeah,
and it sounds like the Democrats specifically were attacking Tim Sheehy. I think is how you
You
say
know,
it.
I remember this ticker because when I did the thumbnail for the stream, I had to search for this company, and that face showed up. So I in one of the pictures I photoshopped you know, my South Park face over his. I remember this now.
So I think it popped because there was negative news coming out that basically said that there's going to be like a lawsuit for poor fiduciary duties by the company's board. And now there's like, it's kind of a reverse. And also, I don't know, it says the CEO, he's also resigned in his run for U.S. Senate. So there's new management now too.
Yeah, there's been some selling in the stock lately from insiders too. A bit interesting to see here what's going on, because I don't have so much data to go on.
Yeah. See, in this for me, you know, the one thing you could have saw here is I'm looking at just the daily chart here. And I don't know how, I mean, with the news coming out, like this would have been really hard to see this one because this company, if you're just looking at fundamentals, it's young.
Yeah.
It has some cash flow from operations, but even its simple free cash flow is still negative. It's diluting. It already has a pretty good amount of debt.
Yeah,
So,
debt is rising up a bit.
yeah, it's not great in terms of how it's been run so far. But I would wait for this one to trade sideways and see if it can break out. I think that's the only thing. So, like, this is one I could maybe add to a watch list and just kind of keep tabs on. But I will say, you know, the volume is insane there. So maybe I'm just not understanding the news story perfectly.
Check Whale Wisdom, Dane. There's some interesting stuff going on here. A lot of individuals are owning a lot of the shares.
Hang on, I gotta actually type it in because for some reason it's not pulling it up. There's a lot of ownership. Blackstone has a specific holding company just for this.
Yeah, I saw that. And is that their only holding?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
And that guy is a politician, right?
Yeah.
And they reported, how do you read this? Like in February, where they are almost 10 million shares up, you know?
I'm just looking at these other names. Robert Savage, his dad was like a big banker. It's just strange. There's so much ownership in this.
76% in total from director and executives. And then you have another 20% from Blackstone.
And I mean, in the last quarter, it's strange to me. It's saying that there's so much entrance of change in shares, it's up by like ridiculous amounts, and it's all from these 13 Gs and 13 Ds.
I'm not, and then you see the insider selling too in September.
Yeah, I'm pulling it out. Yeah. But
I mean, they could pull the rug here if they wanted.
yeah, I kind of, usually I like institutional buying, but or ownership, but this is high. And
I didn't register that Blackstone also is there are two Blackstones here, right?
Yes.
They even have it pretty high up in their main one.
I mean, I don't know how much this has to do with anything. This one's tough for me because this story here is kind of crazy.
I see in Whale Wisdom this company is in the finance sector. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I mean, that literally makes no sense to me. It has to do with aircraft, but then it said the company's current CEO. This is for Matthew Sheehy. Will become non-executive chairman of Tallgrass Energy, as well as senior advisor for Blackstone Infrastructure Partners, which has led the investor group that took Tallgrass private. So he apparently is CEO of that, but also works for Blackstone, which is maybe where that money came from for the holding.
It says here in the notes for Blackstone, consists of 9 million shares of common stock held by BTO Granus Holding 4. And also it's like BTO Granus 4 is managed by Granus Holdings manager. This gets a bit complicated.
I feel like something shady is going on here, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. But 36% move though.
Yeah, I'm confused because too, if you're like looking at these articles, everyone's saying that he screwed up the company and now he's going to screw up the government. There's very very negative sentiment towards this Tim Sheehy, which I mean, I'm so far from Montana, I didn't even know who this guy is.
No. I remember his face because if you search on him on Google, he gets a lot of like pictures where he's standing in front of the airplanes and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, just looking at the chart here, I'm surprised everyone took that news so bullishly because, it literally, there's a small move this week. It slowly trends upwards. And then on Friday, this just exploded.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Heavy volume now compared to the average.
Yeah. I mean,
for some reason, I can't access Yahoo Finance right now, so. Here we go.
That makes me kind of, what I don't like about this is like, recently, first off, the whole thing's in a downtrend. The company doesn't look great.
No.
And then it gets a random pop here, which it had done after a huge drop back in September. And then as soon as it reached back up to almost like the same trend lines, it broke right back down. So,
yeah.
I don't know. The interesting thing is, if you look at the moving averages, though, on Friday, it dropped down to the 50-day moving average and bounced right off of it, and then held strong all the way up to the 100-day moving average. So someone big is buying and selling on those numbers.
Yeah.
But why?
I'm trying to turn to the best source of all, Twitter.
There you go.
But nothing there either. And I forgot to check, but what is the short interest here? Oops.
Percent of float based on September 30th.
5. Yeah.
So nothing crazy.
No.
I don't know. I mean, the other thing too is, because there's so much institutional and insider holding, that there's not a ton of float. So it could just be that it's moving a lot because of the float. But yeah, this is. I mean, it's up in after hours too, so it's quite the crazy move. But I don't think I would do anything with this until can see it trend sideways or something from here.
Seems a lot of the comments are about that Wall Street Journal article and that whole situation going on there.
Yeah, I don't know.
And do you know the name Mark Cohodes or Cohodes? I don't know.
I feel like that name sounds familiar, yes. But from what, I don't know.
There's a guy saying squeeze those Mark Cohodes shorts. Read editorial in Wall Street Journal today where Kim Strassel talks about Cohodes, the Democrats, and what they're doing to try to keep Tester in office. Horrible. So there's a political story very clearly going on here.
Yeah, I do wonder if this has to do with some back and forth politically, because him being running for in a sense he just dropped out, but the fact that he was running, it sounds like people were trying to hit him through this company.
Yeah.
Mark Cohodes, he's I know who he is. He's an investor. He's usually very adamant about his shorts. He's usually screaming on Twitter about him.
Okay.
Who's he's been so negative on? Oh, Riley. He's been attacking Riley for months now.
Okay.
But, he's a very successful investor, and he does long and short. I think he was the one that nailed Overstock back in the day when Overstock took off.
All right.
But I don't know what he's doing in this. I don't know what his involvement all in this is.
Yeah. Well, something to dive a bit more into, I think, but just straight on the numbers and the story, there's a lot of uncertainty in my mind. And even if 36% bounce up,
Yeah. This just reminds me. I think this kind of was what my point was when I couldn't remember what I was getting into. My point being is, this is the kind of stock to me that I really only can look at the chart.
Yeah.
Considering the fundamentals and the story that as if I know it now, it's kind of tough. It's tough to do anything else. Look at the volume and see if the chart tells you it's going to break out or not.
I guess you would have to put a tight stop loss if you enter here.
Yeah. I mean, I think you should always put a relatively tight stop loss, but I'm looking at the hour chart, and just on Friday, the very end of the day was very bearish. it broke right back down to like the $3 level. So
Yeah.
I just wonder how strong this move is going to be, and if this is just a quick pump back up. I don't know. I also wonder too, since what's his name dropped out of the race, do they think that that means his focus is back on the company and not on politics?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I'll try and follow the story just to better inform myself in the future on this kind of thing. You want to move on?
Yeah, I just saw also. So this probably is this a SPAC company? You think, like, historically?
I don't know. It could easily be. It's
Yeah.
kind of a random.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I want to move on. CLPT is the next one I have.
Yes. Which I have not looked at these guys. You ever looked at them?
Well, my thing is broken, so I don't know anymore. But I don't think so.
Yeah, it says they're global device, cell, and gene therapy enabling company offering precise navigation to the brain and spine. So healthcare and medical devices is where this lands. They provide both clinical products as well as preclinical development services for controlled drug and device delivery. Their flagship product is ClearPoint Neuro Navigation System. It's an integrated system comprised of capital equipment and disposable products designed to allow minimally invasive procedures in the brain to be performed in MRIs. So basically, during an MRI, they're able to kind of image as they get into position and see how it affects things, probably real time with the MRI, which is pretty cool stuff. Its principally disposable component is designed to be deployed in an operating room setting while also being usable in the MRI suite. It's engaged with healthcare research centers kind of all over the world. It also provides solutions for direct central nervous system delivery of therapeutics in preclinical studies and clinical trials worldwide. So probably a lot of room for this company to kind of grow, just because it's probably a lot of it's like very new.
Yeah.
Balance sheet looks clean, at least, even though they're losing money. So that's kind of all I see when I'm just looking at the fundamentals. They have been diluting shareholders. So
Yeah.
not profitable yet.
But revenue is growing a bit, and I saw the margin is has massively improved since last year. But like you said, they are still not generating any cash or earnings. But the debt is very low.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna jump into seeking here, I think.
Yeah, that's already what I already headed to.
Yeah. But no immediate new news.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to come up with like a price point, but you know, I'm not seeing any improvement in EPS or anything like that. So off to the chart.
Yeah.
It does look like it's really close to breaking out here. I mean, what do you think? I think the chart looks great.
Yeah. I'm opening the chart now. I just needed to check the owners. There's a fund called Bigger Capital that owns these. Together they are a bit more than 10%.
Yeah, if you look at the chart, I mean, it's clearly it's kind of like some flags going on here.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of a cup and handle on this recent one. But if you look at what I'm seeing is from July to August. July had its first big move up, and then it pulled back. and then once again broke out in the start of August and got up to where it is now. And now it's had a little bit of a kind of a pullback here, and it's kind of cupping and handling. And it looks like Friday actually it had broken out at 1346 at end of the day, which is actually at the very top range of the first move. So it technically hasn't broken out, but I'm looking more, if you just zoom into September and October, it looks like there's kind of a breakout from like that 1250 range.
Yeah.
So I think the chart looks good here. So
A million in volume 2.
This is just a technical one for me.
Yeah.
Heavy volume though on Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
And it looks like maybe at the end of the day, you know, as the price pulled back, is probably just some profit taking from day traders and whatnot. But the volume in the morning clearly outmatches the rest of it. So I'm kind of interested here.
They have a quarterly report 7 of November.
And look how well this look how, oh my gosh, this is another great example of it, if it breaking down and then bouncing off some of these moves and rising low or higher lows. Sorry, I can't talk.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
They're coming with a report in 7 of November.
Gotcha.
But I think maybe if you go into this, you will be out by then, right?
Possibly. The real tricky thing is, especially with these kind of companies, is since number one, this is more in the healthcare, and this isn't a biotech, but it's medical devices, which to be honest, they're kind of, one's drugs, one's medical devices. It's the same thing to me, because both of them you have to prove it by going through a trial system. So
yeah.
You take a huge risk when you hold something through that trial.
Yeah.
Results, because it's going to either take off on great news or it's going to die. So see really big moves in either direction. So that's, I'm kind of interested here to see if it holds, and if so, you know, this is, I think this is why they say buy on the news and sell on the results.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just reading. You know, on TradingView they give you these small pointers that you can click, and sometimes it takes you to some news, and they're just saying like people expect a good quarter report here.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I mean, you don't see a price appreciation in a stock unless everyone's thinking that we're coming out with bullish news. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But one of the things that gives me some kind of confidence is just the sheer volume. Yesterday,
It says that ClearPoint Neuro is a member of the Sachs Medical Instruments industry. I don't know what that is.
yeah, not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if that really matters all that much. All right.
But this will be interesting to keep an eye on this coming week, I think.
Yeah, what I'm doing right now is I'm making a watch list of these ones that I think the chart looks pretty good, because these are the ones that, like, on a day's open that you wanna check real quick when everything opens and see if it's pushing higher.
Yeah. I saw when I saw some of the videos of Kulamagi, he keeps like at any given time he keeps a watch list there in his chart platform. which I think is a good idea as well.
I mean,
To have it in the actual,
you have to limit
like,
down the amount that you're looking at.
sorry.
I said you kind of have to. You have to kind of limit down the amount that you're looking at.
Yeah, and I noticed it wasn't that big. You know, it was like 20 stocks maybe.
Yeah, and in terms of like you know, if I'm looking at charts of stuff, I'm only looking at three really kind of different companies though in terms of charts. Ones are just strong fundamentals. You know, those are going to probably be companies that are a little higher priced and whatnot, and maybe not as quick of return, and maybe a little bit longer holding period on those ones. But usually those are going to be really strong companies in their industries, which
Yeah.
typically is not things that I ever would have invested in the past, because I'm usually looking for value. And then the other ones are narrative or turnaround type story, which is probably much more what you and I are used to. These ones are usually trading towards lows, but now they're starting to turn. And then the third category is more like this last one we looked at. Everything like if you look at fundamentals, it looks like shit. But
Yeah.
there's a strong narrative, or like a trial data or something like that. It kind of allows me to look at those three categories. And this is what I was saying, you know, and that's why I said there's different kinds of stocks in these things. And then I find the one thing is just to make sure that they're not in that really low market cap range where it's so easy to pump and dump something.
Yeah.
You know,
I
it
saw-
sounds crazy, but you see some of these people drop millions of dollars on these companies. So if you think about it, if a company's market cap is sub $10 million, someone can just go out and buy 10% a day, like nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and that would just drive the stock price through the roof. You know, and
Yeah.
then they could sell 10 million the next day. Which, don't get me wrong, I think that should be essentially legal. But you know it happens, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
always
of
happen.
course.
So
I also saw that in some of the videos I've been watching, they are saying sometimes a chart or a stock just looks very all over the place, but it's still moving up and it doesn't follow any other pattern that you are usually looking for or anything like that. It's just going up and it doesn't stop, you know. So sometimes you have these cases where it doesn't follow the things, like it's hard to make sense of why it's going up. But like we said before the stream, Dayne, like the mindset switches a bit from focusing on why to just more than, okay, this is what's happening, I should join in, you know.
right, and I think the thing that I've taken away from a lot of the guys who use like flags and all that kind of stuff, which I know at first, like I said, it sounds dumb, but the reason why they're doing that is because it gives you some sense of what's going on in terms of the price action of the stock. The ones that continue to ride up, you can invest in those ones. The only thing is, it's kind of tough to know where things are going because it's kind of just in like no man's land. Don't get me wrong. If you're going to buy anything that's trending, I would buy it on a trend up. So if it just continues to move up, that's not to say you couldn't buy something like that. It's just in terms of like a big price movement, you're probably not going to get that. Now, if you're looking at a longer term holding, like let's say you're looking at like a year holding, those are the kind of stocks you probably want to be in because they just continue to, you know, people are just slowly buying them up. It's probably institutional if it's going to be doing that because, you know, who else is driving a stock price just consistently higher? There's got to be some buyer out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it might not follow any of the typical like setups, but it's just a different style. And I think those ones are tough though too, because you also don't know when you reach the top. So, but this is why portfolio management is so important because, like I said, you know, if you buy a stock that's been in an uptrend for 3 months, it just, you know, just slowly week to week, just keeps slowly moving upwards.
Yeah.
That's fine, but just make sure you set a stop loss and you know, come up with some idea of how you're going to ride that up. And those ones, yeah, it could just be that the fundamentals are good and you like it too. You know, that's the reason an institution's buying it. Like they're just happy to keep buying into it. They don't care what the price is. They think it's going to keep going up.
Yeah.
You know, they think it's obviously worth whatever it's worth. And yeah, it depends a lot on actual volume of the company. It depends on shares outstanding and whatnot. You know, some certain companies don't want to take too big of a position. You know, and when you're dealing with big lots of money, you know, let's say you wanted to take $100 million position in a large company. You can't just go buy $100 million worth of shares. You have to slowly buy blocks of those shares. And you don't want to buy at a super high price. So you don't buy all at once, because you would drive the price through the roof and end up paying some insane amount for it, and probably have a bunch of people sell on you right away. You're going to just buy small lots, and even if the stock price tricks up, that's okay. It's just the nature of supply and demand. As you continue to want to buy into it, it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to follow a chart pattern. It's extremely helpful, and it gives you some guidance if you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I've been wanting to ask you, because on some of these videos they say, like, find a pattern that you think you can spot easily and that you can specialize in, so that you don't need to. I've seen these screenshots, right, with all, and the books with all the different patterns. It's too much for me. And I think that's the point for them too. But which patterns we talk about cup and handle a lot, but which other ones are you in short trying to specialize in?
I think they're all the same.
Yeah.
I come to the conclusion it doesn't matter. They're all the same thing essentially. In terms of what we're talking about, we're looking for breakouts. You're looking for high price movement in a shorter amount of period, right?
Yeah. Because that's what Kulamagi is saying, right? He says, like, you can only use the moving averages. That's all you need, literally.
Yeah, because they tell you what's happening with the price. If something starts to move up along the moving average, it's just simply telling you there's more buyers than sellers.
Yeah.
And the reason why that becomes interesting once it reaches certain price support levels is because after a while, it gets to where if volume continues to decrease and a price, like, let's say there's a downtrend. I almost have to pull up a chart or something to show you. But, like, if you think about it, if a price has reached a new high and then all of a sudden it pulls back, as like we said, people are selling off. That could be flat. It could trend downwards. It might not even be a cup and handle. It might just be that the first time it broke out was just a straight up move, and now it's trending sideways, which is more of a flag. But the idea is, no matter what, you had some kind of giant price movement. Then it pulled back, and whether it's just trending sideways or if it cups and it goes down and then pulls back up, it doesn't matter. It's all the same idea. It's getting to a point, the next point in a stock's price movement, where it's going to reach that support resistance level. And as volume decreases from people selling and volume slowly increases as people are buying, it reaches like a critical point. And you just have to think, like, let's say there's people buying, and no matter what, especially if it's institutional, and that's why it helps to buy bigger stocks a lot of times if you're trying to do this stuff. But it can happen on the retail side too, and in smaller stuff. It doesn't matter. But it reaches a point where if everyone's happy to kind of buy at that $3 range, and then you have a lot of people who are going to buy on just sheerly momentum or watching a stock increase because it's reaching new highs, those sellers run out. There's only so many people who are going to keep selling at a certain level. Like, if you and I are in a stock, and let's say there's another 1,000 of us who are in a stock, and I think it's worth $5, or I think it's going to go up from wherever I bought. Doesn't matter if whatever the price is. And there's people who are selling, and you know what? They're like, I'm gonna sell up until $3 or whatever. It reaches that point where we've been at $3 for so long. There's no one left to sell. So now, if you want to buy into it, it's going to go up. So, like I said, it's just supply and demand. It's no different than commodities, or it doesn't matter, because the stock itself becomes a commodity.
Yeah.
Like, there's a limited amount of supply out there. And I mean, this is why you see short squeezes and all these, like, it's just market mechanics of these things. It's really basic economics. But
Yeah.
all these, whether it's a flag, whether it's a wedge, whether it's a cup and handle, it doesn't matter. All of them are essentially the same idea. It's getting to a point where all of a sudden the volume from sellers gets to such a low that the pressure buying gets so high that it breaks out.
Yeah.
And that can be on news, it can be on fundamentals, it could literally just be on people looking at a chart, and it's just human psychology. But it's the same thing that you see over and over. And the more you look at the charts, and at first, don't get me wrong, it's taken me forever to be able to see it. But now as I really look at the charts, I'm starting to see that more importantly. I'm not looking at it to see like, oh, this looks like a flag. I'm looking at it and saying like, I'm starting to see a flag form because I know what's going on with that volume and that price action.
Yeah.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
So like I said, whether it's up and then it pulls down a little bit and then bounces up from there, whether it's up, it dips and then pulls back and then bounces up from there, whether it goes up, moves left, right, and then goes up from there, it doesn't matter. And all those moments where the price of buying becomes so strong, it can move up and then start to trend up and then bounce up from there. Because once again, you're running out of sellers and you have a pressure from buying coming in. All essentially you're looking for as like a more on the technical trading side. And don't get me wrong, most of that is formed intelligently from strong fundamental business buyers. I don't believe in efficient market theory, but the idea is as a business does well, like people want to make money. People, in general, like are in finance to make money. So companies that actually produce cash flow and stuff, those follow those trends because of what's going underlying in the business. The business is doing well, price action is going to go up because an institutional buyer who has a ton of money, like let's say you have $1 billion and you're trying to buy companies, well, you're going to buy companies that are going to give you return on whatever your capital is. So those guys have to look at those companies that are performing well. And that's why you see like NVIDIA and some of these other companies that are high growth companies, because one way to also appreciate that is as a company grows growth wise, you're purchasing that future growth essentially. So even though, to value side, they might think it's nuts that people will spend like this crazy amount. It all depends. I mean, if you look historically, even at some of Buffett's buys, when he buys, it might at the time not look like the cheapest PE at the time that he actually bought, which a lot of people who are like, oh, that's not really a value purchase, kind of weird for Buffett. Buffett does somehow take into account some growth. He's looking at return on equity over the past 5 years. He's looking at EPS growth. He's looking at revenue growth. He's looking at all those obvious things. And he might determine, 5, 10 years, 20 years from now, if it continues to grow at this rate, and you have to discount it. I mean, if you listen to like Aswath, Morgan and all those guys, they say that, there's going to be so many years of growth and then it's going to slow down to like where the company will steadily grow from that point. Buffett's essentially doing a discounted cash flow. And he doesn't do it quite like everybody else does, but you can read like Buffettology and stuff. And I think that was his sister-in-law or someone who wrote that book, or his.
Yeah, I was family member.
But either way, she talks about it in that book and says this is what Buffett does. This he'll tell us, in the family he talks about what he looks for, and if he determines, today, like let's say he wants to buy companies at 15 PE that he thinks have great future prospects. Well, let's say the PE is 20 or 25, but he determines in the next 10 years that PE ratio will go down because the company is going to do that much better. Even though to the rest of us, it looks like he's purchasing at 20, 25 PE, he's looking at it where if the math works out for him, he's buying it like a 12 PE. So to him, it's a great deal. It's a great company, and it's cheap enough that he's willing to get in there. And you have to think, when you get that big, I think that's really the only way to do it properly. Like I see why Buffett's turned into this like, super great companies. And the best traders, the ones who are really successful under big amounts, they focus on the leading companies in their thing. Now, they're not afraid to go for just growth, but I still think in some way they're all kind of doing the same thing. Now, Buffett's probably more successful in the fact that he's waiting for that, like he always says, he's waiting for that slow pitch where it's not only the leading company in some of those industries, but he's waiting for something to change where, like for instance, with Apple, like Apple's like kind of a rare purchase for Buffett, but it's also one of his most successful purchases. And I think that was because he realized that, that growth that's coming from the iPhone, that was going to continue for a long time. And if you just put some basic numbers into a calculator, you're going to realize that Apple at the time, even though it was reaching all-time highs, was still super cheap compared to where it was going to be because of the value it was providing. And growth and value, I know a lot of people say that can be the same thing, but I do think they're kind of the same thing, because if a company is going to grow over the next 10 years, it might be a value today based on that growth. Now, true growth investors don't necessarily care where it's trending today in comparison to that. you know, Buffett might not look at a company because he's like, there's no way in 10 years, you know, it's going to be still a value in 10 years, you know, or even today, it's not a value based on where it would be in 10 years. That's kind of the difference between him, I think, and growth. Is growth investors can get a little wild. They can be like, I don't care if the PE hits 400, and maybe they're right on occasion that, you know, it doesn't matter because if the market continues to appreciate that price, then they're not wrong. But I understand why Buffett, just in his conservative and margin of safety idea, is doing the exact opposite. If he's going to look at it into what it's going to be worth in the future, the price he's going to pay today, he's going to make sure that it makes sense, that he's going to get some kind of specific return that he's looking for over those years. And like I said, you and I, you know, I'm looking to, once I build up a decent sized nest, you know, I'll probably really switch more over into that style. But for now, I can see this working for a long time. And I'm talking, this could work into, you know, a really, really large amount of money you can trade. But, you know, being a small account and whatnot, like you don't have to worry about, like, you know, being 15, 20 years right, which is in itself very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been doing some long tangents. So you guys can think, or if you guys can see, my brain is being racked constantly by all this stuff. But I do think, you know, every time, it doesn't matter. I feel like I say it every time, but I understand the overall picture better. But there's just a lot going into it.
Yeah. What I also find a bit cool is that I remember we talked way back on one of the streams that it's or I was saying, like, it's interesting, like it's pretty incredible that this whole thing that we are doing now with investing and everything, like how many different styles you can find that are all successful. You will find people that are having great success with their styles, and you would think like they would conflict in a way, but it's just like so many things to you can play this, you know, and you can combine things like we are doing a bit now, and it's just like I don't know anything like it, to be honest.
No, and I think the fact that it's constantly changing, and you're also competing with everybody else who kind of has the same, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like institutions have a huge advantage of having like Bloomberg terminals and like all this information like very quickly. But to be honest, with today's day and age, like even you and I, there's a ton of stuff that we can look at and I can make very quick snap decisions. Granted, it's based on a lot of previous understanding, but I can make better, fast judgment decisions to try and do something correctly. And that's why I said, that's why as of now, I feel like I understand what's going on in the background. I understand a lot about portfolio management. I understand a lot about risk management now, which is something I definitely have changed in the past few months. And obviously my technical analysis has totally changed over the past few months. But in terms of, you know, my time frame and seeing that swing trading, to me, I like it. I like the time frame. You know, like I said, I still don't plan on day trading anytime, but I can see why everybody's personality is going to fit something, and you're going to find that it just takes time. And
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things that, and this is why, like I said, I've kind of cut my position size down lately. It's not because I don't think I was successful leading up to this. You know, actually, my numbers were much better than when I was going a little bit heavier into positions and whatnot. But I think it's really important to just iron out all the details. And then as this becomes successful, I'm going to slowly increase position sizes. And as long as I continue to stay profitable, I'll probably keep upping those position sizes slowly. Like, so as I said, for now, maybe I'm taking 1% positions to 2% positions. Well, let's say over the next like month or so, that works out well. Then I might bump it up to maybe let's do 2 to 3% positions. So there'll be a few less positions, and I'll hopefully get more accurate with the ones that I'm picking based on me, you know, just doing this and looking back at my mistakes, looking at my successes. And then if that continues to improve, you just keep bumping that up. That'll increase the amount that you return while depreciating the amount of losses. And that's one way to offset the risk. But as of now, I don't have to worry about it. I could be wrong right now on every one of these positions, and I would barely even get, it wouldn't even barely hurt the portfolio right now. Like I'd be fine.
Yeah.
As I become more confident in exactly what I'm doing in playing these things, then I think it makes sense to keep upping the position size. And then at a point, once you get to a certain capital size, you'll have to play around with that number again. But you get my point, I hope.
Yeah.
All right, I do got to get going just because I have to go to work today again.
Yeah.
Just,
That's okay. We have almost done 2 hours now, so it's good. How's the week looking for you?
Tough.
Yeah.
Tuesday will probably be a game time decision because, like I said, we're very close to having our second. So,
Yeah.
Next week, that's the other thing too. I don't even know about next weekend just because we'll probably have our baby. So,
Yeah.
I'll update you guys through Discord, and obviously you and I will be talking. So if I can stream, I'll be happy to do it. But there's might be a few weeks here for me. It's going to be kind of touch and go until I can kind of get established a little bit better. And the other thing too is I'm trying to help cover at work, so I'm going to be working nights for a little bit. So that might really throw off my stream times for a little bit. So or I might only be able to do the weekend stream for a little while. We'll see how long it all lasts. There's just a lot going on at my job, so it's just
For sure.
It's kind of tough right now.
So be prepared maybe then for a little bit of a change in our schedule, and we just need to update you maybe at the same day as we're gonna stream. And if you find a Tuesday or a Thursday or a weekend where we are not streaming, it's because we have our lives, and right now it's been busy both for you and me, I think, at the same time, and even more so for you, of course. But there's been some postponement and stuff in the streaming, but we will try our best to just keep it running and see where we land in the end, Yeah.
All right. Well, from here, I think I'll call that good, and hopefully next week's a great week. I mean, obviously, I'll have a lot of exciting things that I'll be going through, but talking in the markets. Hopefully, things go well there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much I'll be able to even really focus next week. So
No.
It's gonna be a wild week. I know that.
Yeah.
So
No, but a lot of things to look forward to, though.
yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's definitely exciting.
Yeah. All right, then we will see you when we see you, and I will be on Thursday if nothing happens. So we will see then, and hopefully we have some more news on stuff, and we're getting closer to the long expected Q3 report for ALTO.
Yeah, and like I said, I might reopen my position Monday for ALTO because I do think everything's kind of screaming that we're getting to that last bit, and like we've said, I think if the report comes out strong, I think there's going to be a really strong up move.
Yeah, I think so too, and we will update you on everything, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday and weekend, and we will see you when we see you then.
Yep. Thanks everybody.
All right. Bye bye.